True crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
What's up, everybody? Hopefully everybody's rolling in. We're pretty much right on time. Today, we're talking about the devil himself, Christopher Gregor. Can everybody hear me today? Hopefully everything goes nice and smooth. Today is a show for sure. A show and a half, I would say. I want to talk about Christopher Gregor, the devil himself. And it's not because I want to give him attention. It's because there's a lot of attention to be given. So hit that like button as you come in. I'll put up in a little bit on the banner what we're talking about. Christopher Gregor and an ex speaking out about brutal abuse and SA. Now, we know if I say what I want to say, the brutal SA and all the things that we're going to, not get out there as much as we can. So I want to say hi to everybody. Now, the ex-girlfriend wants to be anonymous, of course, although she is going to make an impact statement. She's going to send an impact statement to the judge. When you hear these or when you see these, I'm going to let you read the text messages yourself. I'm going to read some of them. However, I'm going to put them up on screen so you can see them for yourself, because some of them I just can't say, but I can put them up there for you. What is up, Jan on the Lamb? How's everybody doing today? Now, hopefully, what's up? Bri Micciolo's in the house. We're all doing very well. And good to see you. Good to see you. What's up, Toddy One Skip? Let's go, Jay. Compliments to you and the great interview you did. I'm actually going to play a little bit of that today at the end. Right now, I want to talk about Christopher Gregor, the devil himself. We want to expose him for who he is. We want the ex-girlfriend to remain anonymous, but also be able to see what she has to say. And if there are any other ex-girlfriends or people that have been abused by Christopher Gregor, I'll keep you anonymous if you want to come on, or even if you would just want to come on and talk about it. I won't show you. So thank you, Toddy One, for being here. I emailed you earlier about your great interview. I appreciate your compliments on mine. And it looks like Bri got the lighting right. So good for you. I laughed earlier about that. And you had much better lighting in that interview. So hopefully when we get to the sentencing and I get Bri back on, when I get Bri's reaction, we'll have better lighting next time. Although I think both interviews were equally good and they had different information. It was same but different. So I want to play some of that. I'm not going to do the whole hour because I want to focus on what I want to focus on. And I didn't see that interview until now, just a while ago. So I just want a little reaction to it, and shout out to Bri Micciolo for being so brave and telling this horrible story. But I see the narrative changing throughout the media now. What's up, Sassy Cat? The narrative's completely changing. It went from Bri being this person that didn't care, drug addict, throwing fish at a house, some weird stuff, to all of a sudden people seeing who Christopher Gregor really is and who Bri really is, and the heart she has and the struggle she went through. So it's fantastic that the narrative is changing, all by just getting and speaking out. And that's what we need to do. So Nisi, thank you for saying sorry for your loss, Bri. There's really nothing. Yeah, that's all you can really say. So, Mary, the devil has been spawning way too much lately, and I agree. And that's never going to stop. It's going to keep going. So, Sherry, I'll leave it on that as I start my show. Sherry says, we love you, Bri. And I say, we love you, Bri. We support you in anything you do. And anytime you need a platform, I'm here. Toddy One's here. And I'm sure anybody else that you want. As a matter of fact, I have that interview of Inside Edition. They gave you a whole 2 minutes. It was good, though, because it gave us another perspective. I have an article on that. I'm going to get into that afterwards. Toddy One, skip platform. Absolutely. I'd love to do something with you, Toddy One, where we do like a double screen and we do a reaction to a video. It doesn't have to be this case. It could be anything. We could talk crap about Gypsy Rose if you want. I noticed you talk about Gypsy Rose quite a bit, and I have a lot to say on that. I'd love to do something kind of lighthearted. Fisher Blue, great channel. Thank you. Everybody seems to have Bri's back, and I wouldn't have it any other way on this channel. So yeah, Bri's a strong lady, and she's getting stronger and stronger. I said next time I saw her, I hope she had a smile on her face. And on your video, Toddy, she looks a lot happier than she initially did on my video. It was a lot more emotional right after the verdict. So Dixie Fogarty, thank you from Texas. Sadie's mama, I always miss you. I hope you saw that we have the Crime Crew Day 1 hoodies now. And I got one with your name on it, okay? All right, so let's pull up what I'm gonna get into today. And let me see what we're gonna start off with. What do I want to start off with today? Well, I want to start off with the text messages. However, I don't want anyone to miss anything. And if I do that, then people might miss something. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start off with I have True Crime MTN, and it's the treadmill dad found guilty in the Honda case. It gives it it's a good take on what happened, as well as, exposing Christopher Gregor. And then as soon as we do that, I'm going to expose him with those text messages and talk about what the ex had to go through. And I'm sure what the ex had to go through, there was a fraction of that a lot of women, as well as Bri. So when you see this, you're going to say, if anybody ever judged Bri, you're going to apologize. Even if you don't apologize to her, you're going to say, wow, boy, was I wrong. That I shouldn't judge a book by its cover at all. What's up, Giselle? Everybody's in the house. All right, I'll throw up your comments after I put this video up for you. I want you to, I'll play it in fast motion. So what we're talking about right now is Christopher Gregor, and then after that, I'm gonna shout out Bri, show her other video. We're gonna show her some love. I got a good show for you today. Trigger warning for anybody that has any kind of PTSD or anything for SA and RAPE. Let's go.
It's received national attention. That treadmill father, the one who ran his son on the treadmill, who was only 6 years old at the time, and whose son later died, well, he was just found guilty of aggravated manslaughter and child endangerment, is now facing up to 40 years in prison. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Ehrenberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, aka the Florida lawman here on True Crime MTN. In a case that a lot of people have been watching out of New Jersey, there's a guy named Christopher Gregor, and he's a 31-year-old who had a 6-year-old son, and
a 31-year-old piece of shit. That's what we should say. A 31-year-old devil. That's what we should say. A 31-year-old how do we call that? How do we say that without saying that? That guy, just when you see these messages, and we've already heard from Bri, this guy is just straight up a RAPIST. I think he's done it many, 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 many times. And I hope justice gets served inside of prison, and that happens right back to him without lube, folks. All right? No lube. He doesn't get any lube.
He was sharing custody with the son's mother, who previously had some drug addiction issues. And the father was accused of child abuse. In fact, the mother reported the father over 100 times to child protection authorities in New Jersey and was ignored largely. Nothing ever happened. And then a video came out of the father running the child, whose name was Corey, on a treadmill. And Corey is repeatedly falling down, and the father keeps putting him back on the treadmill. There's one moment where it looks like he's biting Corey's head, and he keeps increasing the speed of the treadmill. And it was so horrifying that after Corey died weeks later, that the father was arrested for murder. But a jury just came back and rejected the murder claim, but did find him guilty of aggravated manslaughter, which is a very serious crime. And now he's facing up to 30 years for that offense and up to 10 years for the child endangerment charge. So this guy is not getting out of prison anytime soon. We've got to watch this video.
All right. And now we know for sure. You know, I was saying based on what I was reading from other people and other things, but 40 years is the max. I'm sure the judge is going to give him that. You're not going to get, like I've said for the umpteenth time, a 30-year plea deal, not take it, and then not get the maximum. So 40 years it is, sir. Let's go.
Video, because it is something that just stabs you to the core to watch it. And so it's just important to see what happened, to watch an excerpt from the video that the jurors saw and apparently were moved emotionally by this. So here it is.
We don't need to watch that again and again, guys. We've seen this enough. You all know. I just want to hear what he has to say about this monster so we can get into the text messages. I didn't want to jump in right on that because everyone would miss it. And then they'd say, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you go back? And then I'd have to do it again. So I love you all. I love the crime crew. We have 278 people in chat. I don't want you to miss these messages, text messages, and what I have to say about who he really is. Hit the like, guys.
And that's one of the reasons why the defendant did not take the stand. Actually, he probably should have. Maybe the only way to humanize him, because after you watch that video, you want to sentence this defendant to life in prison if possible. But the jury followed the facts and the law, and the prosecutors did not allege that that act of abuse that you just watched.
And thank you, Pearl Lopez, which is my mom, aka Mom. Love you, Mom. Miss you, Mom. Thanks for being here tonight. This guy's a sicko, and wait until you hear about what he does. Stay on here, because after that, I'm going to read some text messages that are really bad. This guy was going around. When we say SA, we mean assaulting in a manner that, well, you could do to women if you're a man. So that's what I'm going to say. I love you, Mom. Bri says, keep in mind the CPS worker saw the video a week before he passed away and said it's not that bad. Yes, they are such assholes. I can't say it enough. I have another video that you get to say it again, Bri, and then another video with Toddy One. And I hope to have you on my channel again and have more of a reaction and say even more than you did before. Now we're unfiltered, but I just want this to get out there. So I don't want it to be, if I say the word RAPE, then I don't want them to take it down. I don't know if YouTube knows how to spell or not.
Is what caused Corey's death. They said that later on, Corey's death was caused by blunt force trauma, and they showed the injuries to Corey's body. So it wasn't from the treadmill. It was from other vicious acts of child abuse. But it's tough to convict the father of first degree or any type of murder, second degree murder, any type of murder, because you have to show an intentional death. And there was no witnesses. There's not a lot of evidence. Could they extrapolate that from the bruises? Yeah, perhaps. I mean, this guy cared more about protecting himself than caring about his son. I mean, after he took his son to the emergency room when his son was about to die, the father left the hospital about 27 minutes later without a care in the world, just leaving his son behind, just casually left. Cared more about creating a story to try to get custody of Corey from the mother, because he was trying to lay all this on the mother. He was trying to shift all the blame to the mother when he was the one who was abusing his son over time. Now,
and I'm glad that this gentleman sees it that way. And that's why I want to play this clip, because we're talking about Chris being a monster, but we're also talking about CPS and how corrupt CPS is. I wish my mom was on here chatting more. My mom has dealt with CPS for her whole life. She tried to adopt my cousins. She would have gave my cousins a beautiful life. One of them ended up almost not alive anymore, and the other one, well, we don't know exactly, but my nephew, same thing. My mom's a beautiful angel, and she tried to adopt many kids, and CPS gave them to other people that were terrible, and it ended up in a way worse situation. Instead of, there could have been more of me in the world. Not to say that anything's bad, but there would have been more people being raised by my mother. Instead, CPS decided not to. So it hits home personally as well. And I want you to know that. I understand that CPS is corrupt. It fails people a lot. People don't care about their job. Maybe they don't get paid enough. I don't know. But CPS has a lot of responsibilities for deaths in just America, I believe. And that's where we're going with that's where we're going, period. And Bri, we stand behind you in any lawsuits that you do have. I hope you sue the crap out of anybody and everybody you can. They failed little Corey. Red tape. You rock, Jay. Thank you. All right. This guy sees it the same way. And then we're going to get into the text message. I'm going to show them to you. You're going to see Chris's name on the text messages and what he says to his ex-girlfriend. And I'm sure there's many more. So like I said, if there anybody that's watching this that's been abused by Christopher Gregor, please reach out to me. I will keep you anonymous.
As far as child protection authorities in New Jersey, yeah, they're going to have to deal with this definitely in civil court. Whether anyone is charged criminally is another matter. It's tough to break through the immunity that government employees get. And you have underfunded child protection teams all across the country until a tragedy like this happens. And then all of a sudden there's reforms and calls for change and more money spent. But here, the system let Corey down. And the fact that there were over 100 calls and the mother was largely ignored when she was complaining. And there were pictures of Corey's bruises on Corey that could have only been caused by the father. And yet the father was able to still have partial custody and be able to do something like you saw in the video. Just horrible. So that jury hated him. Another reason why this defendant didn't take the stand was that he was coaching his mother to lie. He was tampering with witnesses on a jail call, and that would have come in had he taken the stand. But that didn't come in as evidence because he didn't take the stand. And
because for some reason, a lot of things didn't come in as evidence because it seems to be biased for Christopher Gregor getting away with things his whole life. Mel, thank you for being a whistleblower in the CPS system. You know, as a social worker, many didn't do their job. They probably clocked in late, clocked out early, and lied on their time and didn't give a crap about any of the kids and what was going on. So Bri, she has your help. Thank you, Mel. I hope she has everybody backing her. And I'm sure she already has many lawyers by now that have seen this and want to help. So thank you all for the support. We appreciate it.
Yet there was plenty of evidence to find this guy guilty of a very serious crime. Now I want to read you from USA Today just to give you some background on this. The incident did not kill Corey, but the prosecution argued that Gregor's overall cycle of abuse ultimately led to his son's death. Gregor inflicted blunt force injuries on Corey the day he died as punishment after the boy's mother was 14 hours late, bringing him home. Assistant Ocean County prosecutor Christine Lento argued. Gregor, who was not charged with murder until a year after Corey died, brought the limp body of his son to an emergency room at a Stafford, New Jersey hospital on April 2nd, 2021. Corey died an hour later after coding twice in unsuccessful life-saving measures. Now, the defense here is that Cody died of natural causes. A 6-year-old dying of natural causes? The defense claimed there was sepsis, there was an infection that ran amok, and that the bruises that they found were not because of the father, but because of the CPR, the life-saving attempts by EMTs.
And I'll stop this for 1 second because I have to address Angela Goodell. I don't know if you're in the CPS system working for CPS, but understaffed and underfunded or not, I've personally been there when my mom was dealing with CPS, and it has nothing to do with funding. It has a lot to do with the way people run things and just being lazy and not wanting to do their job. So if that's not you, then kudos to you for being the person that's a stand-up person. I've seen somebody look into my mom's eyes, knowing that her house and her raising of children is 2,000% better, and then giving the kid back to a drug addict just because their rules are shit. That's the best I can say it. I probably have a technical term for that, but the rules that they have in place and the way their system works has nothing to do with their underfunding and staffing. It has to do with them not making any change. So yeah, no excuses. I've seen it personally, and no attack against you. And I love the comments when they do come about underfunding and understaffed, because that's just an excuse for CPS, DC, PMP, all that. Make the change the laws, change the rules within the system. Don't look somebody in the eye that would be the best person for the job and not give them a chance and send them back to a drug addict that's going to ruin their child. Ultimately, many times ending up in them not being alive or just being in prison the rest of their lives. That is not underfunding.
And hospital workers, you're hearing this a lot lately in cases of child abuse. And this is no different, where you have bruises that point to the caregivers' criminal activities, and yet they're trying to point it at the rescuers, saying, no, it's the rescuers who try to save this young man's life who was dying of natural causes, and that's where the bruises came from. Even though one of the medical experts here called by the state said that there were bruises not just where the rescue attempts would have taken place, but also on the side where CPR and other rescue attempts would not have happened. It would not have occurred on the side of the body. So the bruises were not consistent with anything that the defense was arguing. And there was no evidence of an infection that ran amok. So the medical evidence said otherwise. Still, the jury didn't find there was enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to convict on murder. Still, they got him on something that was very serious and will get up to 40 years in prison as a result. So that is the jury's verdict. They expect the defendant to appeal, but I don't think that appeal will go anywhere. And so there was a measure of justice for Corey in this case, but nothing will bring him back. Still, this is something worth following, because I have a feeling the New Jersey authorities are going to be dealing with civil lawsuits for some time, and there will be some legislative attempts at real reform. Perhaps that's Corey's lasting legacy. Hopefully other children will not have to deal with what Corey and his mother had to deal with, finding frustration with state officials. So that's the latest on this case. I'm Dave Ehrenberg.
All right. Thank Dave Ehrenberg. Thank you for that breakdown. And it is a haunting case. And as I get into that now, I will get into the text messages. That's what you probably are here for. You want to know more about Christopher Gregor and what an abusive POS he is. We heard about it many times now from Bri. And Bri, I'm going to play this brief clip. I'll read the article after just because it coincides with it. But she was on Inside Edition. And again, we're going to hear another reason that Christopher Gregor, well, actually, frankly, should have got more time and shouldn't even gotten to the part about getting time. This should have never happened. So in this case, you can't say everybody failed him. You can say the Gregors failed him, CPS failed him, and the system failed him. Bri did not fail him, and she did everything she possibly could.
It was shocking video. A father forcing his young son to run on a treadmill. He was so abusive to the 6-year-old. The boy died just days later. The father has just been found guilty of manslaughter. Now the boy's heartbroken mother is speaking with our Ann Mercogliano in this exclusive interview.
It's a video that shocked the nation. A 6-year-old forced to run on a treadmill at high speeds. The little boy keeps falling off, and his dad keeps ordering him back on. He falls hard 6 times. 12 days later, prosecutors say Corey Micciolo died from chronic abuse.
I just miss him. And sometimes I just want to say sorry, but I know I tried.
Now Corey's mom, Brianna, is speaking to Inside Edition. She says her little boy told her about being forced to run on the treadmill.
Because that happened a few times. Like, that video wasn't the first.
Yeah, this was a great interview. I wish there would have been a little bit more to it. They wouldn't have cut some of it out. There's a whole article on it, and if I get into that, I will. If I don't have time, then, you know, we're showing you love, and then I have the text messages queued up, and I want others to come forward that Christopher Gregor has assaulted, abused, essayed, because I want them to write an impact statement to the judge and let them know what a dangerous demon this guy is. Yeah, it's sad to see Bri crying. She was a little bit sunnier on the Toddy interview, which is what I love to see. That means that there's healing going on.
first time it happened.
Last week, Corey's father, Christopher Gregor, was found guilty of aggravated manslaughter and child endangerment. Brianna, who testified against him at the trial, says she suspected Corey was being mistreated by his father.
What did you see? He had bruises, like, you know, if someone were to grab you, he had them on his arms, like fingerprint bruises. He had bruises on his forehead. He's had black eyes. I would ask him how he got it, and he was so afraid. He most of the time he wouldn't tell me what happened.
And keep in mind, this is all reported to not only CP, I'm going to just call it CPS because every time I get a DCP and P, but the judge saw the video a week before. What judge, and I hope that guy or girl, whoever that was, personally is accountable, gets fired, gets sued, whatever. Once the world saw this treadmill video, half the people couldn't watch it, and the other people that did watch it were disgusted and wanted to throw up. How could you hand a child back to their father after watching that video? So a lot of people don't realize how many times, 100 times or more, that Bri did turn this demon in to CPS, DCMP, whatever you want to call it. Judge saw it and still decided it'd be a good idea to give Corey back to his dad.
Whatever lie his father told him to say is what he would say to me.
I spoke with her at her mother's house where Corey spent lots of time. Here we are in Corey's grandmother's home in Englishtown, New Jersey. You could see his pictures hang on the wall here. Corey's mother says the abuse captured on the gym's surveillance camera was turned over to authorities a week before he died. She believes if they would have done something, he would still be alive. She and Gregor were never married. In fact, she says they only had sex once. She says he despised her for a number of reasons and took it out on the boy.
I think he hated me because I didn't get an abortion. He didn't want to be a dad. I think it kind of was like forced on him by his family.
She blames not just Christopher Gregor for Corey's death, but she also blames the system that she says ignored her pleas for help.
I hate him, and he took everything from me.
Did your son ever ask you to save him?
Don't worry, we hate him too, Bri, and everyone's going to hate him that much more. And then share this video and get it all around so we can get more people to come out and write letters and get the maximum sentence. And I wish the judge could, and I don't know if they can in New Jersey, if they can take that max sentence and do what they want and give them additional time or give them something on top of that or some extra penalty. I don't know how that works, but if that's possible, that would be fantastic. I would never want him to have a chance to have another child or impregnate, I should say, another woman, because he just takes it. He just takes what he wants.
Yes, he did. And he asked me why no one was helping. So he just gave up.
Thank you, Carly.
Christopher Gregor is appealing the guilty verdict.
Now, you guys already know that. This is, if you're court junkies like me, true crime people, you already all know that everybody automatically does an appeal. It doesn't mean anything. All right, folks. So Tina, you, and I'm sharing these right now, but I'm going to read them to find out the abuse is happening. The Barnegat police sitting there and asking Corey if he was being harmed in front of his dad, while absolutely shocking. And Daryl, election of duty. Yeah, the whole thing is, and it's too bad that now it's too late, but we're going to fight for this. So I'm going to show you these text messages, and hopefully I tried to block out some of the words, but it's just what it is, folks. So here is, I'm going to show you, I'm just giving you an overview. So Chris is a monster. He's an R.A. pissed, okay? An R.A. and then pissed. We're all pissed. He's a monster. He takes what he wants. He obviously can't get it by just being a good guy. So let me drop myself down out of here so I can actually see this. Maybe you guys can see it if you're on a bigger platform than I am. All right. So Chris's ex-girlfriend reached out and sent these. She's going to write an impact statement as well. But this is a person who called me trashy. Okay. So Chris doing this, Chris is the person calling his ex-girlfriend. You saw him and all the slander that happened with Bri. I don't even know if a womanizer is the right word for that. That's one of the words. I'm sure while we're doing this, we can come up with 100 more words that we can call him. I just don't want this to get kicked off of YouTube. So also I wanted to mention to you, Jojo, for Show. We tried to add you as a mod. So please, we've been trying to do it for a while, and you haven't. I'm not sure if you responded. If you can respond, we can add you. You don't have your wrench up yet. We'd love you to have your wrench up. I don't know what happened. So please get back to Carly. Bri says, shout out to the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office and the detectives. There you go. Shout out to the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office and detectives, and a big heart sign. All right. So Chris's ex-girlfriend she wants to stay anonymous, but these messages just gives you a glimpse into the mind of who Chris is and what he takes. Right, there's the board. I'm going to not show you, but it also proves further that he's an RA, and then he's very pissed. And he's going to be very pissed. Hopefully he sees some of these, all right? So you can see Chris's name up here, and this is through Instagram, okay? Yeah, he's a grapist. Are some of you able to see this TV and see what's happening here? See on your show? So I watch this on TV a lot, so I don't know if you're in chat, but are you able to? I'm going to read this to you without trying to. Seems like a predator. I got to read these to you, and then you'll see what he actually is. He's actually a grapist. You're right. His parents co-signed his behavior and created this monster. Okay, I'm going to read these to you because I think some of you are just listening and not able to see it. He's definitely a predator. He's a narcissist. He's a grapist. He's a lot more. All right, so these were from Instagram, and you can tell that he's just blasting one after the other because it's at 3:53 p.m. on Instagram, as he's got 40%, right? So here's Chris, and listen to what he's telling his ex-girlfriend. He says, okay, remember this, he's an educated teacher, right? Student of the year, teacher, I'm a RAPE, okay? I'm a RU after I kick this door in. And his ex-girlfriend just says, LOL. Okay, so I'm glad it's too small to read. I made it as big as I could because I'm going to read it to you. He's a monster. He's a criminal, and he doesn't belong out there. Okay, so I'm going to, a Trappist. Yeah, we're going to call it a Trappist. Let me read it to you then. He's a S predator. I've heard more sober. Okay, I'm just going to read it, and then then we can talk about it since you guys can't see it. I tried to make it big for you, but if you can't see it, then there's no point in even doing that. So I'm going to take it down, and then I'm going to read them, and I won't stop. Hit the like button, help our community grow so we can get other ex-girlfriends and other people he's done this to, and we can band together we have until August 2nd to make impact statements and let the judge fully give him the maximum sentence and maybe more. I'm not sure. Okay, here we go. All right. He says, because Chris, I'm going to grape you after, I'm going to trap you. Let's say that. I'm going to trap you after I kick in this door. The ex-girlfriend laughs. And she says, and then he says, we got to be done. This isn't healthy. And then he says, GT. After he says he's going to kick in her door and grape her, right? Glad it's done. You're effing push me and don't even take accountability. Then this girl says, that's fine. Girls who get hit, not there. All right. Then it cuts off. And then Chris says, because my piece of shit ex-girlfriend that I was supposed to have sex with tonight, totally effing bullshit, and couldn't even have good sex with me. And then she says, so you went ahead and F someone else? So what? You don't need me? So what do you need me for again? I need to kick your door in and beat the shit out of you. You didn't go to Sewell's. I know that. Parking now. I'll kick your door in a second. All right. So we're only through like half of the text messages, and I hope you're hearing this. Why has he not been charged? Well, you know why he hasn't been charged? Because nobody turned him in, folks. Nobody's turned him in. So that's why. Obviously, nobody's turned him in. He's sitting there having text messages with this ex-girlfriend, and he's telling her, and yeah, I'm going to leave this up. This is pure evil that I hear. This is just pure evil, and nobody knew this in the trial. Nobody heard about this, but I hope they hear about it in sentencing. So that's our goal, is to get this ex-girlfriend that says she's going to write an impact statement to write it. Okay. I read a few of them. I'm going to keep going. This is the only way it's going to happen, Sassy Cat. It's the only way it's going to happen is if it gets out there and it gets to somebody that will also write impact statements and get them away for a long time. Also, if they can come up and talk to me about it and tell more women that will come forward. Look at happened with the P. Diddy thing and all the other things. One comes forward, another comes forward, another comes forward, and then you have a whole gang of people that, well, frankly, are just going to win. Okay. So he says, my ex-girlfriend can't even have good sex with me, so he's going to go get it somewhere else. And then he says, I'm parking right now. Give me a second. I'll kick in your door in a second. Okay. This guy. And then Chris comes back, and I see something here that says interest me. I'm sure he says, something about, as long it's about him. And then she says, go back to wherever the F you went, should have stayed there. And he says, nope, no, I'm almost at your place and I'm kicking in your effing front door. And then she says, go ahead and go to jail. I don't care. And he says, and as soon as I realize the effing police are called, I will snap your effing neck. You want to have others call the cops on? That's fine. Dude, what did you take? Where the F you went? So he was obviously on something, folks. He's talking about kicking in somebody's door and trapping her, so to speak. Talking about breaking her neck. Yeah, this guy's a lunatic. It's more than an a-hole. It's more than a monster. He's like the devil. This is his girlfriend at the time, and because she doesn't want to give him sex, he's going to take it. He's going to say that it's bad. He's going to say he's going somewhere else. He's going to talk about snapping her neck. Drop the sub, Chris. All right, we're not even done. All right, so she says, go back to wherever you came from. You should have stayed. This is unbelievable. When I read this, he says, I'll snap your effing neck. Well, what a good guy, man. I'm glad his parents stuck up for him. And then he says, trust me, if I was effing someone else, I would still be there because you're a useless effing useless. You're just useless. You're effing useless. And then she just laughs. She's obviously used to this kind of behavior from him. Maybe it says, what are you on? He was on something. Maybe he got angry when he did his roids and, allegedly did his steroids and was drinking. And then she says, LOL, you didn't go to Sewell's. I'm assuming that's like either somebody's place or a bar. So wherever you went, you should have stayed. And then that's what she repeated again. He says, you're right. You need fake tits. You have some small ass tits that don't even interest me. And then she says, LMAO, dick interests you. So I'm imagining she's calling him gay or something like that. And then she says, I can't help you regardless. Now, why are you bothering me again? And then he says, you're wrong, but at least know that you don't. And then I'm sure there's some insult coming. So this is Chris, some Instagram messages, some snaps that I got out of this from Chris's ex-girlfriend. Reached out. It's going to do an impact statement. I'm sure there's a lot more of these. I want to pull this down because, yeah, I don't know. I really want this to get out into the algorithm. I want people to see this. And yeah, she's egging him on, but it's more like she's used to this, Sue. She says LOL and whatever. It sounds like he does this all the time. And egging him on, I mean, if you're dating someone like this and they're telling you these kind of things all the time, you kind of get used to it. And yeah, I in no way blame her. I'm sorry I didn't report him. She's just as bad. She laughs and thinks it's funny. Stupidity and it's funny as well. I'm not going to blast the ex-girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. I appreciate people's opinions, but I think honestly, that this is his real character. And abuse is a real thing. A lot of you know that have been abused. You start to get used to it, and it doesn't make it okay, but it's just what happens. Yes, she should report it, but she's coming out now. If we could you imagine if we said that to every single person, the people that came forward with R. Kelly, the people that came forward with Bill Cosby, the people that are coming forward with Diddy, well, why didn't you come out then? Don't- I never want to say that. I want to say that it's 100%, 110% his fault, and I understand and I support you. To any of the ex-girlfriends or anybody that have come into contact and been abused by him, it's not your fault. It's his fault. And now's the time to come forward. He is horrid. He's a womanizer. He's a sadistic predator. Yeah. She was probably scared and not always easy for someone to report. And if you laugh it off as well, like LOL, then maybe he'll just kind of go away. We don't know. Maybe she was drinking that night too, and she was off doing her own thing. I don't victim blame around here. And she was a victim. When you get text messages and threats like that, I couldn't even imagine. All right. So the texts were in 2018. All right. And this, we know the time frame of all of this. So 2018 gives it a good time frame right before he went into jail in 2019. He's been in there for a while. And so this seems to be a pattern. He probably did that to his high school girlfriends. He probably did that to his junior high girlfriends. If he didn't get that brutal, he worked his way up and his parents validated it because we saw that they validated it, folks. Yeah, and when you're being brainwashed, you don't know what's going on, especially if you're drugged by that person. Absolutely. Because these people will do what they say. Hey, all just drop it in 6-hour drive. What's up, Sheila? And you're right, Kim Princess. Cops don't give a crap. If you were to take those text messages to them, they would just blame it on you and they'd put you on trial. Restraining orders don't work. Teresa, you're right. And thank you, Bri. Thank you, Bri, for being here and supporting today, and Carly. But thank you, Bri Micciolo, for being in the chat and hanging out for a bit and seeing what we're doing. And yeah, this was before. This was before Corey, the Corey incident. But it didn't matter if it was before because he did the same thing to Bri, but without all the other stuff in between. Bri wanted nothing to do with them. Remember, it only happened one time, and then Bri was pregnant with Corey, and then you saw the interview. If you didn't, you should go back and watch it. She wanted nothing to do with him. He was obsessed with her. He was, yeah, and I didn't mean you were victim blaming Sue. It was just the way that it came off that said she was taunting or joking with him. And I'm just talking, nothing against you at all. Okay, so luckily Bri was smart enough. She wanted nothing to do with this guy. She could have been all smitten by him when she was 16 and said, "Oh, what a good-looking guy that drives a nice car. He's 21." But she didn't like him. It wasn't her type. He was too old for her. She already had a boyfriend. So none of that abuse in that manner happened to her. But could you imagine how he talked to her? Bri, if you're in chat right now, if you do want to say, did he talk to you like that? I'm sure he did in the chats. He probably talked not that way, but in a rude manner, in a disgusting manner. Time to pick up your effing son, or you're effing late, you be. I could imagine. Now I'm speculating here, but if you're still in chat, Bri, let us know. You can just say yes. I'm sure he was verbally abusive in any way that he could get away with to you. Yeah, exactly. Because he seems like he's that kind of guy to everybody. All right, so I'm here. I'm on my tablet. Doesn't have the chat option, but I'm listening. Well, you're chatting right now. What are you talking about? Just playing. What's up, Jamila? I did, and I got a guy arrested. Restraining order is great. Every once in a while, it works. But that guy is a monster, and please let's get this in the algorithm. There's a whole bunch of people in here, y'all. There's 522 people in here, and we got to get this out there to more so we can have somebody, one of his ex-girlfriends, come on and you can hear her voice, and then she can combat everything y'all are saying and answer questions, and she could be anonymous. What's up, Crime to Remember? Hello, beautiful people, still hanging out in the ICU, and I hope you feel better soon. All right, well, we have more, folks. I just wanted to talk about all of this and just let you know that he's a abusive piece of shit, to say it in the best way that I possibly can. Yeah, thank you. Hit the like button. All right. So that's the best way to say it, so I don't have to keep saying it. Back to the tablet. All right, I got more. So everybody, hello, crime crew. Let's go. See what else we have on here today. Let's see how much time we have. Okay. This is what I wanted to do with y'all. So there was another video that came out. He wanted to get Bri. He's like, oh, that too. I forgot about that. He tried to put a hit out on Bri while he was in jail waiting for trial. He wanted somebody to kill Bri, and it got back to her. The guy turned him in, and got back to the police. I don't know why he didn't get extra charges for that. I cannot speak to that. I totally forgot about that. Karma's coming for him. God bless Crime to Remember. He only had fake tears. Yeah, and we're going to see this right now. This is a really good one, guys. I forgot all about him putting a hit out on Bri. I can only imagine how he treated her and used Corey to treat her that way because he could, because she wanted the best for Corey. And when you want the best for somebody, you will take a little bit of bad treatment to do that, to get the best for him. So the couple times she had to stay the night, she did that to protect Corey. All right, so I do have something special because we did not play this before. I do have the interview also with Toddy one that just came out a few hours ago. You guys might not even have seen it yet. But before we do that, I want you to see Dr. G Explains. And as we talk about him, it's a different one. I thought I was on the same board, like, oh, we already saw this one. No, we didn't. This was his body label. This was not the one. This is a different one. This came out after when he was in court. It's not the one with the treadmill. So I want you to see what Dr. G has to say about the trial and the body cam and his behavior and body language. And I wish that Deception Detective would still do one that. So if you hear me, Deception Detective, we still want a video on Christopher Gregor that's called Sadist, please, because I do believe he's a sadist. All right, let's go with this video that we haven't heard together yet. And I didn't even know it.
Hey, everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and body language expert. And today we're going to be analyzing more behavior and body language from Christopher Gregor. Christopher Gregor is currently on trial for the murder of his son, Corey Micciolo. It's alleged that Corey died due to injuries sustained after being aggressively forced to run on a treadmill. Before we get started with this analysis, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to remind you, this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, the goal of this is not to prove his guilt nor his innocence. The goal is to provide commentary on his behavior and his body language. Last thing.
And of course, we already know that he's guilty. We're waiting for August 2nd for him to be, I always forget the word because I want to say verdict, but we're waiting for the sentencing. Now we're going to hear what Dr. G has to say about this awful, evil man. And I hope he's harsh on him because sometimes he's not harsh. I hope he's harsh. The guilty verdict hadn't came out yet. So let's see what he has to say. If you guys have seen this already, put a 2 in chat. I'm just curious.
Before we get started, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. We're going to be watching 2 different clips today. First, we're going to watch him reacting to Dr. Thomas Anderson, who's a forensic pathologist and expert in this case. After that, we're going to watch some of his body cam footage. He was pulled over 2 days after the death of his son, Corey. All right, let's just jump right in.
And did you review the autopsy report authored by Dr. Agassa?
I did.
And what other materials did you review to formulate the basis for your opinions?
So I'm not really going to be focusing much on Dr. Anderson, but I do want to point this out just because there is a lot of research on the way that people react to expert witnesses. In terms of his own body language, he is very open. He appears very comfortable. And that makes a huge difference for how juries are willing to accept information. So he will become more believable because he seems confident, because he seems open. I just thought I would point that out. We'll spend most of the time talking about Christopher Gregor, but I do think that his body language lends itself well to the way that juries will receive the information.
In addition to the autopsy report, I saw the images that were generated in association with the autopsy, and I examined.
Now, this is interesting. Watch this right here. Now, this look right here is pretty much, if you've been watching the trial, this is pretty much his default look. He stares forward. He looks very intense. He doesn't move around a lot. So this is probably very familiar.
Were generated in association with the autopsy.
This, on the other hand, we think of this as being related to sadness. So the eyebrows pointing upward like this. And there's a flash of it very briefly as he's talking about the autopsy photos. Now, that doesn't mean that he necessarily is feeling sad for Corey. Could be feeling sad for himself because an expert is talking about this. But we are seeing a very brief flash of sadness. Let's go back and watch this in context.
To formulate the basis for your opinions.
In addition to the autopsy report, I saw the images that were generated in association with the autopsy, and I examined the histological.
I'm going to stop that really quick on Bri's message. If you'd like to thank Dr. Andrew, I bet you we can get a hold of him. Would you like us to get a hold of him? I would love to do a quick interview with him, and I bet he would do an interview. Bri, the other Bri, Gothic Bri, can you start a conversation with me? We'll start a conversation about that. You have Dr. Joe with the Maya Kowalski case. I bet you we can get Dr. Andrew and get an interview from him. I'm almost going to bet on that. So that will give you a chance to say thank you to him. All right. So let's try to do that for us and the community and for Bri to say thank you.
Slides, and we'll talk about those more.
So you see him moving his head down and looking down a little bit. Now, he's not somebody that moves around much, so it tends to be notable when there is something different. And right now, it doesn't look like he's looking or talking to his attorneys. It looks like he is thinking about something. And when we see the head moving down like this, we typically associate that with losing confidence. So hearing this pathologist talk about these, hearing the forensic pathologist providing his expertise and his background, may be making him lose some confidence regarding how this is all going to go.
Histological slides, and we'll talk about those momentarily. The slides that you look at under the microscope. So I looked at that. And then I had medical records from 3 different hospital facilities.
So you can see as he looks down, he's also tucking his chin in, looking at his eyes through the top. Now, I've talked about this in other videos. Oftentimes, the chin tuck is away when you start to feel a little bit defensive. Now, his is very subtle. So it's possible that it's just the lack of confidence. It's just looking down. But now that he's looking back up again, he didn't move his head. He's keeping his chin low. So I think that's a defensive position. I think that he feels very threatened right now.
I believe it's County Medical Center and Jersey Shore Medical Center and South Ocean.
Yeah, that is interesting. He doesn't blink very often. He's very he's very much like Chad Daybell. He just has no emotion, stays to himself. He looks like a cardboard cutout of himself. And yeah, right, he doesn't blink often or show any kind of, he barely even breathes. His breathing is real low and slow. Very interesting character. I actually just think he's a demon. He really is an evil person, and he can be diagnosed, I'm sure, with many things. And I wonder what they will diagnose him, or if he's diagnosed with something already.
I saw medical records from Ivy Pediatrics, which were Corey's pediatric care provider. Certainly, I saw police documentation, law enforcement.
Now, I talked about this in the last video about Christopher Gregor, but his blink rate is incredibly slow. When he's sitting and staring and focused, he is just laser focused on something.
Ivy Pediatrics, which were Corey's pediatric care provider. Certainly, I saw police documentation, law enforcement documentation. I saw some telephone records. I had access to a...
And can you explain to the jurors when you say cause of death, what does that mean?
Cause of death is,
You'll notice that right now that Christopher Gregor is looking at his attorneys. He's looking around. He is not actually looking at Dr. Anderson. And that's probably due to the fact that it feels too intense to look at Dr. Anderson right now. There's probably too many feelings around that. And it probably makes him lose a little bit of that feeling of control that he has been pursuing so much. Because if you watch my last video about Christopher Gregor, one thing that's very evident, regardless of whether or not you believe that he ultimately killed Corey, is he is someone who has an exceptionally high need for control. So when you have an expert who's talking about this, the intensity of looking at them when they're talking about their conclusions is going to be very, very difficult.
If you sustain any of these kinds of blunt impact injuries with sufficient severity, it could conceivably bring about your death if they were severe enough.
After reviewing the materials in this case, did you formulate a
His ability to have a blank stare and be this intense is really remarkable. Everybody's a little bit different with how they present in court, but he's somebody that has such a high degree of control that as he sits and listens to this, he probably perceives it as a threat, which is why he's not blinking. When you think about the survival mechanisms within the body, many of our involuntary reactions are due to survival. And in a situation like this, where his future is literally on the line, you might see somebody who stops blinking. You might see them looking at somebody in a way that is this intense. So that probably explains some of his lowered blink rate during all of this, because he sees.
And he did that most of the time. The only time I did see him cry was when it was for himself, and then his dad brought up a little emotion, or his parents, when he saw them, brought up some emotion. But nothing other than that, really, did he have any kind of emotion for anybody but himself. So what's up, Jess and Juror 13? Yeah, he's definitely a predator. Yes, I don't think he's human. He's truly the scariest person I've encountered. I believe that, Bri. I believe that when somebody puts a hit out on your life, and sorry about that, my daughter's gaming in the background. We just hit 555. That was a good time to stop anyway. 555 in chat, which is an angel number. Corey, you're our angel, complete and utter justice. Let's pray for that. Okay. I would probably have PTSD if someone tried to put a hit out of my life, knowing he's still going to be going to prison and can try that again, and many other things that he could try to do from in there. Who knows? So yeah, that is scary. I almost forgot about that, and I don't know how I forgot about that, but I mean, that's probably going to bother and scare and haunt you the rest of your life, Bri, and I'm sorry. I wish we could do that right back to him. Crystal, you're welcome. 555, sociopath, hearts. We're almost at 13K, folk. We're going fast. The more we grow, the better content, the more interviews, and the more real information that we're going to have on here. We cut through the chase and get straight to the evidence. I'm glad the jury got this one right. Can't wait for sentencing. Well, mark your calendar. My thing just got in the way. My lip ring got in the way. That doesn't happen often. Yeah, let's go. Hit the like, hit the damn likes. Justice, can we talk about what they said dad said to his mom after sentence? Did anyone else hear that? We can talk about that after, but you guys talk about it in chat and then tell me what you think, because I don't know. I do hope they hit him in prison. That's why I want everybody to see this. Everybody needs to see this so that he can get what's coming to him from the judge and from anybody else that should be. Now we're at 560. You guys are amazing. We got more for you. So my Sebastian Rogers case, I'm doing it today still right after this, but we might go longer on this because I have more content.
The doctor is a genuine threat.
opinion as to the decedent's manner of death?
I did.
And can you tell the jurors what your opinion is?
Yes.
Corey's manner of death is homicide. While there are many, many, many causes of death, typically in forensic pathology.
By the way, if you have not actually watched this clip, I hate to interrupt right here, but he's really, really good at explaining what he does and his opinions on these things. So if you really want to have a compelling, or if you really want to watch a very compelling part of this trial, watch his testimony in its entirety. It really is quite good.
And doctor, did you review any blood work from the hospital?
Yes.
And did that impact?
What's up, Tales from the Pen? I originally saw the video. Shout out to Tales from the Pen. Go to his channel when we're done here. If someone could drop a link to Tales from the Pen, great channel. He's in protective custody with the rest of the. Yep, I agree. Yep, he will be, absolutely. But every once in a while, that makes no difference. Jeffrey Dahmer is all I have to say about that. Christine says, hi, Mom. All right. Tales from the Pen. He's the one that did one of the interviews with Bri, and it's Rebecca's friend. Tales from the Pen's an old friend, son, or something like that. She told us in the last interview. The doctor gave compelling testimony. Dr. Andrew, we want to thank him, and if he'll give us even a 5-minute interview, you're welcome, Tales from the Pen. You did an amazing job. Dahmer might have been lying. Dahmer might have been lying about what? Dahmer was his life was taken, and he couldn't lie. The guy couldn't stand it, and he got out and he smashed him, and that's how Dahmer's life was taken. What do you mean Dahmer might have been Davey and your conspiracy theories? You can do that with me, but nobody else. I don't know what you're talking about. He was lying about what?
Your conclusions.
Yes.
And what about any post-mortem CT scans?
You see that looking down, that movement of the head down. Like I said before, loss of confidence seems to be about the only thing we're getting from him as this doctor testifies.
And what about any post-mortem CT scans? Sir, did you make any findings regarding bruising on the decedent's body, which was significant in regard to your formulation of your opinion?
Well,
now this is subtle, but what I'm seeing right now is it looks like he has a look of disgust. With disgust, you see the bottoms of the mouth point down, see the nose furrowed a little bit, and it looks like that right now he has a subtle look of disgust on his face.
Doctor, can you explain to the jury if there was any opinion or determination or findings that you made after review of the materials regarding blunt force trauma and CPR post-mortem?
One thing that's really interesting about Christopher Gregor, and we've seen this throughout the trial as well, and it's not as apparent here because he's moving his head a little bit, but oftentimes he will just move his eyes. He tries so hard to move so little, probably because of that strong need for control, that sometimes
He really does, and he's got that jaw, the roid jaw, so to speak, but he really just does look disgusted and like an evil man. And a lot of times he disagrees with people when they're on the stand. That's the only time I see him move as well, is when he's saying no to something. But in general, when you just look at him, you see evil, and people see evil. We also don't always hone in on our on vibes with people, our emotions, what we feel when a presence walks into the room. This guy has an evil presence, I'm sure, when it's coming through on the computer screen.
that instead of looking over and actually turning his head, which he does occasionally, he'll just move his eyes. He's somebody who doesn't move or doesn't waste any energy that he doesn't have to. He sits very still and is very controlled. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to his body cam footage, because this is going to be a very different version of Christopher Gregor than you've seen otherwise, unless you've already seen this. So let's jump into that, and I'm going to give you some analysis of what I'm seeing. I want you to keep in mind, this was 2 days after the passing of Corey. I also want you to keep in mind you're not going to be able to hear it very well. I will clarify what's being said whenever I can. Let's jump right in. Now, you can tell this stance right here. This is a stance of compliance. So he's holding his wrist. He's got his hands in front of himself, standing up very straight. He's trying to show that he is going to comply. That's typically what we associate that body language with.
I'm freaking out right now because there's like stars. What's restful too? I was not teacher, so you know I don't.
So what we're seeing right now is somebody's body language who's trying to connect with a police officer. He's leaving his body open. He's trying to be casual, but he's also leaving his arms down low. So he just said something about those who can't do teach. I guess he's trying to be funny, and then he covered himself back up again. So he does have some discomfort here. He tried to be open. He's trying to connect, and he's not so sure how it's going, so he's closing back up again.
Those that can't do teach. I mean, it's been interesting the past 2 years, to say the least. When you say that, you can just like, not really.
So now you see him putting his hands on his hips. Now, oftentimes we do this as a way to dominate, to feel a little bit like we're taking up more space. It's also possible that he's trying to mimic the way that the police are standing. Police oftentimes stand this way. And I think that it's possible that he's mimicking that as well, because he's trying really hard to connect right now.
He actually really is. And you could see how he opened his arms up, and then now he's kind of standing the way they are. He's trying to have like a bro thing with the police, trying to connect and be, I'm a bro, I'm a good dad. Tell from the pen, I grew up with Bri's mother. Yes, that's what she was saying. I couldn't remember that, but I knew she knew you, and that's how you originally got that first interview that we loved so much, and we played it on our channel. So thank you. And this is a good example of why we love to promote and we love other creators to all come together. So thank you, Tales from the Pen. I watch your interviews and they're fantastic. I don't know if you ever collaborate with anybody, but if you'd ever like to collab on something, or if I have somebody I'm interviewing and I want a perspective from you, if you're ever open to that, that would be cool. the more creators that come together, the better community that we're going to have. So never, 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 never mistake my channel for one of the channels that says don't talk about other creators. That's not my channel. And never think that you can't say what your opinion is, even if it's against ours. Just be respectful, okay? All right.
Now he's saying jokes. He's trying to be easy to get along with. He wants to be liked by the police officers right now.
Not really. She's met my son. She's met my son multiple times. I did. I just, like I said, I drew a blank. It's more about. So I asked her she's saying what she was. That she wanted to be here with him to drive home. She also might or might not say this is one of her main reasons why she didn't feel comfortable with driving another 13 hours.
You also notice how much he's actually talking with his hands, which if you look at him during the trial, you might be surprised because he's so plain-faced during the trial. He stares so intensely. He shows very little emotion. And the fact that he's moving while he's talking, that does show some emotional connection to his body and to his body language.
After I drove so much already. Because I haven't slept well, as you can imagine. It's just, I like numb at this point with everything going on in this now. I'm like a little freaked out because I don't know what happened. My training's on everything's going on. So it's a little early.
There's a lot of uncertainty in his body language. He's moving his hands up just a little bit.
It also looks like he's trying to get them to sympathize. When I'm listening to what he's saying, it just sounds like he's trying to get sympathy so that they'll do whatever he wants them to do. You can tell when we just read those text messages, the way he actually talks and what we've heard from Bri and the way he's talking to them is not how he talks. That's a completely fake facade that he only has to use every once in a while, probably when he talks to his parents, like, and acts like a little boy and maybe wants something. But that is not Christopher Gregor. That's Christopher Gregor trying to get what he wants out of the situation.
He's moving around. He's trying to leave himself open, but he seems really, really uncomfortable. And he even said he's freaking out a little bit right now. So I do think that he actually is feeling very uncomfortable in this moment, but he really wants badly to connect. And he keeps putting forth gestures to try to connect with the officer he's speaking to.
Like I said,
I do want to point out that this is 2 days after the passing of his son. Just unbelievable how casual he seems, how nonchalant he is about a lot of this. Like I said, he's uncomfortable, but I can't fathom being 2 days out from the loss of your son and this being the way that you're presenting. It's just unbelievable to me.
I played football, so I might have CTE short-term memory loss. I played outside one time.
So he says, I played football, so I might have CTE and short-term memory loss. So now that's where I start to think whether or not somebody's being manipulative. As soon as somebody feels the need to explain why they might have short-term memory loss or why they might have some reason that they're going to be inconsistent, that should always be a red flag to pay attention to.
I played football, so I might have CTE short-term memory loss. I played outside one time.
See, what position did you play? So what this did was two things. It was a manipulation in the sense that he wanted to explain away any sort of inconsistencies that he might say, but he also is reaching out saying, I used to play football, which is a great way for a lot of men to connect. It's a way to have a follow-up question like, what position did you play? And that is a way to connect, because that's what I think he's been trying to do this whole time, to try to relieve his anxiety, is to connect with somebody. So putting these things out there can be a manipulation in that sense.
Well, it's NAIA, which is kind of like YouTube. It's from Lakeland, Florida. It's Southeastern University. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's talking about the university, probably his teacher, being a teacher, his degree, three things Bri said about him, summed it up in just those words. And I truly do believe that. You could hear him right here trying to bro it up with this cop. Very interesting. I couldn't hear it before. So thank you, Dr. G, for this explanation and breakdown. We always love his channel and his analysis. They're not always what I agree with, but a lot of times the way he analyzes things isn't the way we do, and he doesn't necessarily know the backstory. He's just analyzing. He's a behavior and body language analyst. So just because we don't always agree with them doesn't mean we're not going to have them on here. I don't agree with everybody in chat either, but I still want you here.
like I said, when I first got out of the car and you guys searched me.
So now he's starting to feel more comfortable, feeling like he got that connection. He's feeling more comfortable. I do think it's funny that he's casually dropping CTE as a possibility, that he has this consistent traumatic brain injury.
I just make sure that, make sure you didn't have a grenade in your pants. Exactly. But, if that was you, I apologize because I'm but I said, I don't mind if you guys search my people at all. Like, there's nothing else.
But look at the difference here. So when he's talking to somebody, he's facing them, he's presumably looking at them, he's connecting with them. In a trial, he doesn't move. He sits there. He just moves his eyes. He moves as little as humanly possible. So that makes it seem like his behavior during the trial is largely intentional. He may not want to show body language.
I'm really not. We'll get to that very soon, man. So we're just hanging tight and trying to figure everything out while we're doing all this. So sure. I imagine that you guys would know if there was a warrant associated with that.
Yes.
So right now he's asking about whether or not there's possibly a warrant. A little bit difficult to hear once again, but that does speak to how he's thinking right now. And we see this oftentimes over and over again with people in these situations. They start to fish for information. They start to ask whatever they can to get as much information as possible. Nothing inherently wrong with that, but we do see people in these situations doing more of that. So as the conversation continues, you can see this position right here, the holding of the elbow. This is oftentimes a sign of feeling awkward. This is where he's starting to feel uncomfortable, or continuing to feel uncomfortable, I should say. And he's sort of awkwardly standing there holding his elbow like this. This is just a sign of discomfort. Essentially, in a social situation, you feel like you can't leave. We'll go ahead and stop right here. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of the body language that we're observing, as well as contrasting that with some of the body language that we're seeing while he's on trial. This has been just such an unspeakably sad case that I'm definitely not going to miss it when it finally wraps up. It's just
all right. And you didn't miss it when it wrapped up. You'll probably come back after, now that you know, and we appreciate you. And that gives me time to do some reaction video to the Toddy one, the other side of the story. And although I don't have time to play the whole thing, I want to skip through some of it and absolutely highlight it because it just came out. Now, Toddy 1, I hope I'm saying it right. Toddy 1 has 8,840 something subscribers. Absolutely, she deserves every one of them and more. I came to find out recently. Hold on. All right, so I came to find out recently that she's very new as well. I don't know what happened there. I didn't mean to do that. She's very new, so if you don't know her, definitely show her some love. And we're gonna listen to this. It just came out. It dropped, I think, hours ago, if I'm correct. So it didn't have as many views, but I know it's gonna have a ton of views. Yes, Chris is a graper. Nobody missed anything. Vanessa, somebody asked her, and yeah, we love Toddy. She just did an interview with Bri. We're gonna react to that video and listen to a lot of the things that came up that we had already talked about. So I think this is like the 5th interview I've seen since after the trial. And Bri, you're just out there doing it. I know you're back at work right now, but you're killing it.
Just to bring attention, just to be shushed. How does that happen? Is it because the grandfather of the...
All right, we're gonna just
on the New Jersey
state. You guys can go watch it, but I want to listen to Bri.
People.
I'm trying to find out.
You should know and hear about children. Corey was just a month shy.
Yeah.
I have to order by mail.
All right, there's Bri. She'll go back.
So I definitely, like, when I was I had to go to work throughout the trial. I wasn't able to go inside, so I watched YouTube on the case a lot. So I watched a lot of your videos and smaller YouTube channels. And I said, when the trial's over, those are the people I want to interview with, because Court TV and all these other bigger news stations, I guess you can call them, they were just talking so much shit. And there are very few people at the time, especially in the beginning, that understood where I was coming from, what I was about. So, I think I did News Nation, but
I saw that.
And then I did Inside Edition, and it was the most, they're big, but you could just tell that it wasn't coming from their hearts. It was just news and TV for them.
Right.
So that definitely, after that one, I was I think I'm close to done with doing it.
So it was awkward. Would that be the right word? And I know Bree's got her daughter to take care of. She's in and out. So we appreciate her. We appreciate Toddy for sharing with us. And I did message her right before this. That's probably why she's in chat, because we're all friendly with each other. And the people that I tell you that I talk to, I actually do talk to and make sure they're okay with what I'm doing. It's all information that's out there and we're allowed to use it, but I don't want to disrespect anyone. So thank you again for sharing this with us.
Interviews with like the bigger people, you know.
Right. Did they have was there coverage like that while the trial was going on? Was there like news coverage? Was there a lot of news coverage, or was it more like the internet and social media?
It was mostly social media. I think there was like a local news station from like our area that was there, but it was mostly like, you know, Court TV. I think News Nation was there, and then a few other people.
And we have all these 24-hour news channels, right?
Yeah, right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, all right. Well, how do you feel about the verdict?
So I really would have liked him to get life in prison. I mean, if there was a death penalty here, I would have liked that.
Of course.
So I'm happy because you know, in the beginning, everyone was saying it's a hard case to prove because we can't prove what he did to Corey that day. So they were telling me it was hard. So I was just kind of grateful for this sticking for the, you know, aggravated manslaughter. And, you know, there's a few times I was like, oh my God, is this going to happen? Is he going to be found not guilty on everything? So when they said that, I was just, you know, I was very grateful for that. But like I said, I wish, you know, I hope the judge gives him like what he can, the most he can, which I think he will. Like, judging.
Good. You do think he will? You got a good feeling about the judge, that the judge?
Yeah. So this judge has been on Chris's like case since, you know, we've been going to court, like, you know, small hearings, not a trial, but he's been the judge throughout the last 2 years since he's been in jail.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've been to all the court hearings. So I get the vibe, I guess, from him that he's very fair and impartial. And that's what was shown kind of during the trial. Like, I know it seemed like, oh yeah, he's on their side, but I think his biggest thing was he was trying to avoid an appeal, or at least a winnable appeal.
Right.
So yeah, I think that was his goal. But I think he saw through Chris. I think he saw through Mr. Acquittal, and
and he saw a lot more than the jury saw, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he knows more about this case than, you know. He reads the documents. He went through all these documents. Some of them are sealed that like no one else can see except him.
Right.
So he knows everything, and if he's, you know, a normal human being like us, he's gonna feel the same way.
Yeah, and I agree. Thank you for saying that, Bri, because I truly believe he saw all the things as well from behind the scenes that the jury didn't get to see. So it's going to give him a better chance to give him the full sentence that he can. And Bri says, love you all. Thanks so much for the support. It's one of those things that keeps me going. And we're all here for you. There's so many people in chat, so many people that have seen your first video and all your other videos. I'm making sure I cover everything I could find so that it gets out there and spreads all over the internet, because the narrative has sure changed now that court's over. My God, how it's changed. Thank God. Yeah, we wouldn't want that lingering, not only thinking about that monster trying to get her, but also other people saying bad things. I mean, you're a great mother, Bri, and I'm glad that you have your daughter that you now get to be a great mother to. So we all are here for you, and if you need something, let us know.
Right. I was just wondering how, you know, about David Gregor, like what his pull is. That, you know, how far does his tentacles go, you know?
So I think before this happened, before Chris killed Corey, I think it was a lot stronger. But then people kind of backed off once it came to, you know, a child, thankfully. But, you know, as far as, you know, with DCPMP and why no one was listening before this, I think it was because of him. He knew everybody, you know, cops, government workers, judges. Like, it was very strong before this happened.
Yeah. So you think that people have now backed away because nobody wants to get that dirty?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what do you think about the other lawyer, Bellucci? Do you think he helped or hurt you? Because a lot of people did not like him. And I would think that a lot of the jury didn't like him, which would have helped your case, you know, which would have helped, you know.
Yeah, I think it helped a lot that Mario was his lawyer. He could have done a lot better. His just
demeanor.
argumentative kind of like personality. He's yelling at the jury, and I was able to see the jury. I don't think they showed it like on TV or whatever. Okay, so I can see them going like, they're like taken aback a little bit, like, who are you yelling at? And it's like, so yeah, I don't think it helped him at all, and I'm surprised that's the way he went.
I don't think that they.
Yeah, another Chad Daybell type of lawyer. When you get those lawyers, they think that if they punk the people on the stand, whoever they're cross-examining, that they keep it light on the people that they're that's on the defense side, and then they try to punk you and catch you in lies. But especially when you have the nature of a child, you should never do that, and you should never do that anyway. But that's how the justice system works. Okay, so same as John Pryor, we have 2 children that were found in his backyard, JJ and Tylee, and the jury saw right through it, and they saw right through it here with the charges that they convicted him on. Now, I was disappointed at first about the murder charge until I realized what exactly it meant. And then, of course, I wish he would get sentenced and convicted for everything he's ever done, right? We just read about the ex-girlfriend, and hopefully we hear from her and others, that we actually could hear their voice and feel their pain with them. But it's only for this, and I don't think it's ever going to be enough time. But please come forward, anybody else, so that we can let the judge know that he's an evil guy, period. He's not just a child abuser, he's much more.
Nobody liked the way that he spoke to you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, nobody liked that at all. That wasn't a good look. And I can't imagine why. I had people in my comments saying, well, he's only behaving like that because he's really working against, Chris, that he was working against Chris without Chris knowing it. And then that stuff came out that we found out about. And I was like, no, he's just a scumbag. He is. That's what he is. When we found out about, his own son, I was like, yeah, he's just a scumbag.
Yeah. So I've not known him personally, but he's been Chris's lawyer since like day 2, April 3rd, I think he got him. So I've seen him at court hearings. He's obviously been but he snoops on my group, Justice for Corey. And so I think he's a scumbag also. And it's one thing to defend your client, but he went over that line and just became an asshole. The way he was pointing at me during closing arguments and just saying nasty things. I don't think that was necessary. That's not defending someone. That's just being a bad person.
Yeah, but I think that's the way it came across too.
Yeah,
that he really didn't help his client so much as I think that he helped the opposite side because he did look so bad. And like, why are you doing this to this woman for? She didn't do anything. You can yell and scream, but it just didn't. The math didn't math for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense like that. So, so you were very young when you had Corey, right? Obviously, very young. And you didn't expect it until you found out you were pregnant, basically. Is it right? I mean,
right.
So what was Brianna like the day before and then the day after?
I mean, I was like so young. I was just being a kid. I was, going to high school, just like hanging out with my friends, going to the mall. Like I was just being a kid. And, after I found out I was pregnant, it's like, okay, now you're a grown up. You have to go get a job.
And she did just that. And that's what parents do. But I do want to say, if you guys can notice, and I hope you do notice, that Bri has a lighter air about her. And it seems like all of this and all the support that you're giving her here is really helping for her to heal to the next level that she can. Thank you, Orly. Great channel, great content. Yeah, I can see the difference from the time we interviewed her until this interview, which was on 6/9 yesterday, that she's lightened up a bit, and it definitely helps. So keep supporting her, keep sharing the content, keep getting interviews, keep asking her for interviews, keep sympathizing, and just keep the support and the love in this community.
It was like just completely different. And, I was fine with that though, because I wanted Corey,
right.
So, and, he was the biggest blessing, even though it came from such a horrible thing and a horrible person. I mean, Corey was the complete opposite of Chris. And he was completely different. I don't think he had an ounce of his attitude or demeanor in his body, because he was nothing like him. And I apparently, you know, when you're raised by someone, like, you act like them, you're raised with manners. And thankfully Chris didn't raise him, because, you know, who knows? But yeah, he was nothing like Chris.
There was a picture that
I also wanted to shout out to Patronus Glow, What's Up, and Wolfpack. Bree says, Jay, since verdict, I have definitely felt more peace. This is what I needed. Nothing will bring Corey back, but justice has been served as far as Chris goes. Thank you for saying that, Bree. I appreciate that. I can see it in your demeanor. I can see there's more of a glow about you. There's more of a peace to you, and you just seem lighter, and nothing's going to bring him back. But from here on, it's going to be upward instead of downward. And yeah, you're going to have your days, I'm sure. But thank you for saying that. We could all see it, and we appreciate you. We appreciate being able to support you in this community. So justice is served as far as Chris goes. Everything else, people have things coming to them. That's all I have to say. I didn't want to talk about that in the other, when I talked to you, I didn't want to talk about any of that because I didn't know how much was out there, but sue the crap out of them, Bree. I can't wait for them to get what's coming to anybody that had a hand in this.
And I made a comment that this is the only picture that this guy has of his child, yet we're seeing all these pictures of Brianna and her son. So do you know the picture I'm talking about? The one where it looks like Corey's asleep and Chris has got a stupid grin on his face. And I've heard rumors that picture was taken the day of him going to the hospital.
It was an hour before, and I haven't actually really looked at the picture because it's very bothersome, because you can kind of tell, like, you know, Corey kind of looks blue in it, and it was it's creepy to me because you see Chris like smiling and Corey doesn't look so good, and it's like, did he really not realize he was, or is that him being, you know, a weirdo? Like, you know, serial killers like take photos and steal.
Yeah, sadistic. Because I was shocked when I heard that. I said, no, like that. I couldn't wrap my head around that.
Yeah, I believe they said it was like maybe a little over an hour that he took that picture, and Corey had to be already, you know, something wrong with him. Yeah,
sure.
Because it didn't even really, like, from what I saw in court, because they kept bringing it up and I like would look down, but from what I saw, it just looked like, you know, it didn't look like Corey 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm shocked that he took that picture.
And if that reminds anybody of the Letitia Stout case, when she took the picture of Gannon when he was in his bed, and she sent the picture to his dad and said, oh, Gannon's sleeping. He already wasn't alive by then. So evil people will do things like that, and they don't even care. I didn't see that picture. I don't even want to see that picture. And we don't want to show it again. Obviously, even if I did have it or someone sent it to me, I'd rather not have that. But just remember, Letitia Stout, Gannon, may Gannon rest in peace as well. Letitia took a picture and he was already passed, and she put him in the bed, and you can see the color with that. Bree does seem lighter and brighter. Thank God. What's up, Patronus Glow and Wolfpack and all y'all in here? I know you from somewhere. I can't put my finger on it, but hello.
Yeah, it's
not
scary.
A smart guy, but not a smart guy at all.
No, the things he did. You know, he claims he's so smart. He has a master's degree. He was a teacher, and you know, he's, you know, so rich and this whatever. But he's Googling things that are gonna get you caught. They're gonna look at your phone. He's running away he's like the dumbest criminal. Yeah, I thank God for that. I'm so happy that he is. He's stupid. He really is. That master's degree doesn't mean a damn thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have common sense attached to it. You know, you could be smart and you could be street smart.
Right.
Street smart. He's not so street smart. So
not at all.
So I mean, your plans definitely changed from one day to the next when you found out that you were going to be a mom. But it was always, wow, I'm excited about this. This is just the way I'm going to go with it. I mean, you always wanted children, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. But I think the thing that really sold me on, like, yes, I'm going to keep this baby, was when I went to my parents and they were like, okay, well, do you want to keep it? And I was like, yeah. And they were excited.
Awesome.
They're like, oh yeah, like, we're going to help you raise the baby. So I was like, okay, I can do it, because they're going to help me. And, you know, they were happy. We were all happy once Corey was here. And, you know, we all had to change our lives. It wasn't just me. My mom was like she was almost like his second mom because we lived with.
And shout out to Rebecca. She seems amazing and supportive and awesome. And she reminds me of my mom. My mom's like that too. Very supportive and just an amazing, close mother. And she always has a lot to say. And I love it. Parents like that are what make us strong women. And so shout out to Rebecca Micciolo, Bri's mom. Hopefully she watches this and hears us showing her some love.
Her, and I was like a baby myself. So,
Right.
My whole family helped raise him.
Right. That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah.
Why wasn't there any charges against Chris? Why didn't you ever think about, when you realized what happened, and then, I mean, you had DNA and then the math will always be there. I mean, he will always be his age of 21 and you will always only have been 16. How come never?
So at the time that this happened, I think I was just like confused and kind of scared because I'm, 16 drinking and, ultimately some type of drug. So I was like afraid at that time, but I think it was right around after Corey passed that I actually did try to go file charges and it didn't work out. He never got charged.
Yeah, probably. Well, now I can't imagine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's illegal, like statutory, what the age is for New Jersey. So I don't know if it was like legal, but yeah, it was more. So I know they tried to contact Chris and he, didn't answer, no comment to the police that I reported it to. And then it went to, they had to get it indicted, the charge. And they were like, it's such a he said, she said, which is, so common. Everyone's, oh yeah, he said, she said. So, and
so
it was also.
It wasn't a matter of the age anymore. It was just a matter of if it was consensual.
Right.
I don't know what the age of consension with, of individual that is.
I know that 16 and 21 shouldn't be okay because.
And not only that, Bri in the other interview said that she didn't even tell her mom. Her mom had no idea. She just thought, my daughter's sexually active. She got pregnant and we're going to support her no matter what. So it didn't even come out for a long time. And I feel like many women just need to be told this, even though I know that many times when you do go to the police don't believe you. And it's a he said, she said, and us women still to this day, we're in 2024 and we still, as much as we want, don't have the same rights as men, even though they say we have the same rights as men, we truly don't. So we need to work together to make that happen and do what we can and speak out, and then grab a friend or 524 friends and bring them with you and don't give up. Speak up, please, because not even Bri, but just look at the text message we just read about Chris saying he's gonna snap her neck and all the things that he was gonna do. Why didn't that get turned in? And how many other girls has he abused? Yes, girls need to know it's not okay. You need to know just because you're out at a party with somebody and a guy just takes what he wants, it's not okay. And speak up, grab a friend if you need support. Welcome Jojo. Jojo is our newest moderator and she is well deserved. We've been trying to get her as a mod for a while and we've been having technical difficulties. So thank you, Carly, for making that happen. Yes, tell somebody, speak up. All right, please. We got to make this happen and we're not going to do it alone. All right, let's listen for a little more and then I have my next episode to get to because you guys can go watch this full episode on Toddy One.
I was literally, in 10th grade and he was, when you're 21, I'm trying to think of what year of college you would be in. Like second or third, right?
Yeah, yes.
So it's like completely different lives.
You know better, especially if you're done. You just know better. You think so anyway. You think so. So yeah, that was something when I found that out. And the jury knew nothing. Well, I mean, they knew they just didn't know. Well, they have to. I think they know your age, and they obviously know his age, and they could figure that out. But they didn't know how.
So right now, we're talking about the other side of the story. It's Bri Micciolo's version, but today's episode's about Christopher Gregor's ex-girlfriend speaking out about brutal abuse and SA. So if you go back later on, you can go do the rewatch crew. Christopher Gregor is an absolute monster, and he has more than just abused one person that we know of, but many, I'm sure. And so we want them to speak out. The ex-girlfriend sent some text messages, and Christopher Gregor talks to her and says he's going to come in and break into her house and snap her neck and take what he wants from her in a sexual manner. So that's where we are. We're talking about Christopher Gregor and how he's a monster, and we're also playing some of Toddy. I don't know what you would prefer to be called, but I'll just call you Toddy's interview with Bri. Now, if you don't know the story, you really got to be filled back in. Go to the playlist for Corey Micciolo, and justice may it be fully served on all levels soon.
Corey was conceived.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that would have made a world of difference. I don't understand why the laws are always more in the protection of the person that's being charged than the victim. I just don't understand that.
Yeah. Throughout this whole process, because we've been in contact with the prosecutor's office, because, you know, we were working with them, giving them information, whatever. And so I've known these people for a long time, like the last 3 years since Corey's passed. And, you know, each like hearing there would be something that I could tell it was just more in its favor in Chris than Corey. I'm like, Corey's the victim. So why is this guy getting all these rights? You know, he even tried to get the treadmill video not to be included in the trial. Like even went as far as doing that. And thank God that didn't happen. But, you know, criminals have more rights than 6-year-old victims.
Yeah, I'm glad that didn't take place. I'm surprised. I mean, I don't blame them for trying, but
of course, yeah.
So glad that didn't, you know, and it's tough when his dad is who his dad is, you know, and I knew who his dad was the minute he said something about the sporting. As soon as he said, I said to myself, yeah, he's the agitator here. This guy's the agitator, and his son, and that's not an excuse, but you could see that. I mean, all of a sudden it just opened up for me. It opened up. Yeah, this guy is trying to make his dad happy. Everything else is secondary.
Yeah, well, he's also evil and a narcissist, and that's what I said earlier about that little boy voice. I bet that's only times when he talked to his dad. Crystal Sugi, you saw a text message, repost him. It was crazy. We need to get these women to speak up, and I'd like to get people to my channel and speak up, or write an impact statement and send it to the judge. But I'd like as many people to speak up as they can. There may be a chance of charges that can come up. I don't know what the statute of limitations is in New Jersey, but if people come together, we can get him locked up for longer than his 40-year sentence. Thank you, JoJo, for the 5 gifted memberships. Now the people that are in here that aren't part of the Crime Crew official, you're now going to be a Crime Crew official. So welcome to the Crime Crew, and hopefully you become official real soon. Well, 16 is not that's the legal age. I'm talking about the statute of limitations and how long ago a crime was committed. That's what that means. Sometimes there's no statute of limitations, like on when you take someone's life, there's no statute of limitations, I don't think, anywhere in the United States. If you take someone's life, you can still be arrested 30 years later. Now, for different kinds of abuse and SA, limitations could be 5 years. It could be 10 years. Sometimes it could be there are none, and it doesn't matter what time. So I want you to know, find out what that is. Let's band together and try to get, if he's doing this to that ex-girlfriend, and we know he did this to Bri, there's probably many more people that he's done that to, and they haven't talked. That's what we're talking about. Can we get Jen Soto locked up? Well, I'd love to do that. Big things come in waves. Let's do that. Let's try to do that anyway. Let's put the word out. Jay said there's no statute of limitations if not considered a crime. Well, it is a crime if you abuse somebody and you SA them. So what I'm saying is, if years ago, Christopher went out to the bar and he graped this person, he graped that person, and all these women come forward and said he did that to me, it is considered a crime now. So yes, it is. All right, what's up, Jamie? Let's play a little more of this, and then we got to get to the next episode.
To him, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. You know, when you're a dad and you recognize that, you really need to step away and say, you know, that's not the way you're raising your kid, because you're raising your kid out of fear. And I mean, you're just screwing him up that way. I mean, that's my personal opinion about that. And it's, you said that the rest of his family was like really messed up as it was. So,
well, yeah, I
not
think,
his sister so much, you said, but you said his other brother, but you said his sister was very kind to Corey until all of this happened,
she was.
and she had to pick sides.
Yeah, that was upsetting, you know, with his sister. I was like, I was so sure, like, she knows how Chris is, like, they all do, and she's the only one that was like iffy about him and wouldn't always back him up. So I was surprised that she stayed on that side.
Did he have any, like, because I don't want people to remember him on the treadmill.
I
don't
agree.
want him to be that kid on the treadmill. So, like, I mean, did he have any favorite things that he liked to do? Did he have any favorite television shows? You know,
so he liked anime a lot. He liked Dragon Ball Z. He liked Naruto. He dressed up as both of them for Halloween, and he was very artistic. Like, he loved to paint. He loved to draw. One thing I will say is he was never into sports until, you know, they came around. But he liked to draw. Like, we would sit for hours and just, like, you know, you go on YouTube and you put in how to draw, whatever. We'd sit there and do that for like hours. And so he loved art. He loved drawing. He loved painting. He loved, I'm trying to think of what those things were called, Beyblades or something. They were like a toy that he really liked. He liked scary movies. I probably shouldn't let him watch.
That's a little guy after my own heart, that he likes scary movies. Love that kid. I love him anyway, but we go to horror conventions where we meet all the horror characters, and my daughter loves those too. So it's okay, Bri, that you let him watch those, because my daughter watches Freddy Krueger, Jason, and all that, and she meets them and she loves them. Jay, yeah, we are trying to get those people to be held accountable. When I say we, I mean Bri is working on that right now. So as she goes back to work, she's still fighting for laws to be changed, Corey's law, and hopefully she sues the crap out of them. I don't know what I can and cannot say about that. I don't know much except for what I've read. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that. Patronus Glow, Harley Armstrong, I am too. Mentally, my eyes are wanting to close. Yeah. You guys all know each other. It's all love here. Patronus, you come from the Zav channel. I'm glad you guys like my channel. I saw you all there first.
Watch all of them. Oh, he loved them. Yeah, he loved them. Yeah, and he loved the solar system. That's a big thing that, you know, people ask me, like, did he actually like that? He loved it. Like,
he did.
He knew everything. He knew the names of like these random stars.
Yes.
We would sit there and draw, you know, planets all day. So yeah,
that's really cool.
No,
yeah, he was very smart and just like artistic. That's how I would describe him.
And when he found out he was going to be spending more time with his dad, you know, because I heard where you and your mom both said, you know, every kid wants a dad, you know. So when he found out, hey, this is my dad, and you know, was he excited? Was he glad?
I think he was confused. I mean,
yeah, at that age you would be. And Christopher's going to be sentenced on August 2nd, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to take the day off of work that day and cover the sentencing, and hopefully we can get Bri on here right after to give us her reaction to it. We did talk about her coming on here and giving the reaction, but Bri, I'm asking you right now, if you have an opportunity that day, if you can come on right after and just give us your reaction initially, that'd be great. I'm taking the whole day off to cover it, and that would be cool if you could hop on and just tell us how you feel and what your thoughts are on that, because we're going to hear impact statements and all of that. So if you can't do it that day, it's okay, but if you could, that'd be great.
And it's hard when a child's 5 and you're like, oh yeah, here's your dad. They're like, what does that even mean? He doesn't even know what it.
Right.
I mean, of course he knew what a dad was, but he just never knew one existed for him. You know.
Right.
So, and when Chris first came around, I like wanted nothing to do. I didn't want to even be like near him. So, I think Corey could kind of sense that also, and it was hard for me to try to pretend to get along with him as well. So, I don't think there's ever been a point where he was like excited, like, oh, I have a dad now. I think it's always been he was kind of like anxious and nervous about that.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any like at all, even because I mean, so from my understanding, it was like the last 2 years of Corey's life that, and you never lost any kind of custody. Let me stop myself. The reason why Corey lived,
thank you,
not even full time per se, he lived like 1.5 day more at Chris's was because of the school district you wanted to get him into. Is that correct? Is that what I heard your mom say the other
Yes,
day?
that is true. Yeah.
Yes.
So he only
Jane,
lived a
this-
half a day more with his dad than he did with you.
Right.
Yeah. Because that wasn't when I heard.
Yeah, we appreciate you for clearing that up, Bree. They had 50-50 custody, but it was just the logistics of it and the reason he had him. What did she say? A half day more. Thank you, Bree. I'm gonna screenshot this. Just kidding. I know you're good for your word. So we'll see Bree here. Mark your calendars for August 2nd at 1:30 p.m. so we can watch that monster get sentenced, and hopefully people come at him hard with their impact statements. I know there's going to be a lot of them because he's done a lot of people really bad, especially Corey. In this case is what we're talking about, justice for Corey. And I'm hoping and I want the judge to rip him a new one.
Heard that. I agree. That wasn't the way we took it. It wasn't shown like that. That lawyer, I have to say, did a good job at that, because that didn't come out well. That he made it seem like, excuse me, you lost custody of Corey, which you might have done. That's my next question, but it wasn't all the way through to now and or then, and it was simply that he was only a half a day more at Chris's for a school district, which was not clear for people.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'll explain it better. So when Chris came into Corey's life, he like slowly got visitation, and then eventually it was like custody, and then he was there for like an extra day so he could go to Monroe Township School, which is where I went to school. It was where Chris went to school. It's a very good school, so we agreed, and eventually I think it was like January 2020, I did lose custody because I failed the drug test in court. And then after that, he had majority custody. And then I had the visitation up until he passed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but he didn't start out, like, it wasn't like he came into his life and he had full custody. No, it took a while to get to that point.
Right. And so, and I know that you've been clean since February, am I correct? Of 2021, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations on that. I used to be a drug counselor. And
Okay, yeah.
Let me just tell you that some of my favorite people, and I mean this, are recovering drug addicts.
Yeah, I feel like people just think like so lowly of the, like, drug addicts or, recovering addicts, but they could be some of the best people. Like, we're not evil. We're not horrible
They're the people
people
that feel the most. And unfortunately,
Right,
that is why they medicate themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, they feel the most. So, all the thing is you just need more tools. I'm not playing drugs counselor now, but you
I get it.
Tools to, but it certainly doesn't. And the worst bit is when I found out, because I had people commenting, that maybe shouldn't have been commenting in the comments that Chris, had his own drug problems. And of course that didn't come out,
Yeah. So he had a very bad drinking problem, which, because it's not, heroin or this or that, people think it's okay. But I think, part of his problem was also he had like a drinking issue, and he also did drugs, but I wouldn't call him like so much of a drug addict, but I think an alcoholic, I would say that. And it was bad. He drank every day.
Yeah. Alcohol. And again, from past experience and personal experience, I would much rather hang out with somebody who was strung out on heroin than somebody who changed their whole personality on alcohol, because alcohol is that Jekyll and Hyde, where heroin, will make you nod out. It will not make you go nuts on somebody, where alcohol can definitely do that, and people don't realize how dangerous alcohol can be until they're at the hands of an alcoholic that changes on you on a dime. You know what I'm saying? So, well, I'm glad that you're clean and sober about that. I mean,
all right, let's go a little bit further, see what else, and then we gotta hop to the next thing. I want you to go show love to Toddy and watch the full interview on her channel.
So I thought that was odd, like to steal his identity almost. So
let me tell you something. I had a dog, and I'm not at all trying to compare, but
I understand. Yeah,
I had a dog, and when I adopted her, her name was Faith. And I kept her middle name, Faith. I kept it as Faith because I felt like that's part of who she was, a dog.
Exactly, yeah.
So
yeah.
Why would
all right, I'm going to go a little bit further.
I hope that you have something going. That
I think these are Toddy's final
did.
thoughts.
And,
let's see.
Actually, doing the work and coming up with a conclusion.
Right. So you think it was maybe from your voice that pushed for a second. You think that they just would have just 7 years old? That's like, really?
No. So I don't think so. I don't think they would have done that. You know, the detective that's on Corey's case, he seems to really care about Corey, care about, you know, everybody involved.
Good.
And he wanted to get to the bottom of it too. And I think he realized very quickly that Chris was a very bad person, and he believed what we were telling him from the start. And he had to go out and get the evidence. He's the detective, and that's what he did. And, you know, he's one of the people that helped Corey get justice 100%.
What's his name? Do you want to tell his name?
Yeah, Dennis Mitchell. He's been there since the beginning, and, you know, he wanted justice
Shout
for
out.
Corey just as much as us.
That's awesome, because you had a lot of people that weren't, you know, working with you so shout out to the guy that worked with you, you know, on that.
Yeah, shout out to all the detectives and everybody that the whole team, that prosecution team, and everybody that did support Bri. And we're gonna look for the doctor. I'm already looking at him on LinkedIn to find our doctor. So I think his first name is Thomas, and I have it in my notes somewhere. We want to see if we can get an interview with him.
So how does your life look now?
Good
A lot
question.
different, obviously, but I have a daughter that's 1.5. I got pregnant about a year after Corey passed, and that year was I felt so empty, because as a kid, I became a mom so young that that's all I knew.
Right.
So, you know, I've been a mom since
Aw.
I was a teenager. So, you know, not having Corey, it was so hard. Just waking up in the morning was just like, what am I waking up for? You know, and then I met my boyfriend. He's amazing. He's the opposite of Chris. You know, he helped me through a lot. And then, you know, we ended up having my daughter, and he's just like the dad that Corey deserved. And it's really sad. I don't want to get too upset.
Yeah. That's you.
It's okay. I wish Corey had the chance, you know, to have him as a dad, because that's what he deserved. And it just sucks that Chris took that away from him. And I could say a lot about him, but we don't want to, you know, get banned or something on YouTube.
I don't care about that. I just don't want to really make this I want this more to be a story about Corey.
Corey, yeah,
because
absolutely.
You know, Chris.
That, and so it gets out. The word won't get out if nobody gets to see it. So I put Dr. Thomas Andrew in there. If you guys, I'm going to look him up as well and see if I can get him on LinkedIn or something. And yeah, love for Bri and Corey. I think we're going to wrap this up right about now. It is about Corey. Let's see if Bri has any final words. It might just be Toddy. Not that's just Toddy, but you can watch it on her
You
channel.
don't have regret about that, because, you know,
I can't think of anything that I should have done that I didn't do, really.
Exactly.
You know, it was up to these people, and they didn't do anything. As well as, I do want to say that I think the Gregors, the parents, have a bigger role in this than we think, you know, as far
Agreed.
as what happened to Corey. I'm not saying anyone else hurt him, but they covered it up. You know, the scene where it happened, I think they were there before the cops got there. I think behind the scenes, they did a lot. I don't think they're innocent. It's not, they just want to protect their son. They want to protect all of them, you know?
Yeah, same as everybody else's parents that condone the bad behavior. Stephen Stern's parents covered it up. Chris Watts' parents still to this day blame it on Shanann. So it's one of those things that parents enable bad behavior, and then something like that happens and your kid's a sadist and they ruin lives. Orly, thank you. Great show. Keep following. Keep coming back. This case is heartbreaking, but we want justice, and we're seeing justice unfold. We've been following this case. Bri is doing fantastic with her interviews, and I hope that they keep coming and get better. Dr. Andrew was amazing. We want to give Bri the chance to thank him, because he really did bring a lot to the case, and I'd like to talk to him. Thank you, Megan Reese, for joining. My daughter's name is Reese, so good last name. Love the last name, so I had to shout you out. Corey's legacy will hopefully be great change, and Bri is working on Corey's law, whatever that means. We don't know yet. And I appreciate all of you. I'm going to hop on to another stream here. Let me finish her last words, and then I'm coming right back on to cover Sebastian Rogers. I should have called it Sebastian Rogers, no drama on guilty of crime. So let's finish this. And then if you guys want to hop over and watch Sebastian Rogers with me, you're not going to watch it with me. You're going to watch me talk about it.
Isn't that something where there's parents who aren't police officers and sworn to that to uphold the law, and yet they will turn their children in if they do something as horrific as that. And then you have some parents that will cover it up and then destroy somebody else's life while they're already destroyed
Thanks,
anyway.
Bri.
Like, I have to say there's a special kind of hell for them.
Yeah. And
Yes.
it's the hate they have for me is like, I'm like sitting here, I'm like, what the hell did I do to you guys? Because
You existed. That's what you did. You existed, Bri. Thank you so much, everyone. Bri says, and you did nothing wrong. You existed. You're a beautiful woman, and their son wanted you. He couldn't have what he wanted, and he's a monster, and he's spoiled, and they raised him that way, and they enabled him, and they had to have seen the abuse because we saw the bruises, we saw the bloodshot eye, we saw all the things. They saw it too. They knew what was going on, and they wanted that perfect family. So things have to change. Children need protection from demons like Christopher Gregor. I hope Bri sues CPS and the judges and who placed this child with an abusive POS. We need laws to protect children. And Bri, now that Bri has, everybody knows Bri, everybody sees her now. We've seen her on a lot of things. I hope that her job position, I don't know what you do, Bri, but I hope you're able to become an advocate for not only Corey, but you get the opportunity to advocate for other children, because you have that something about you that people, that it's just that you're a genuine person. And what happened to you with Corey is tragic, but maybe this is going to take you on a journey that's going to help Corey and other children. And I hope that for you. We all wish you the best. God bless you. I'm going to let everyone finish this on Tottie's channel. If you want to watch an interview, it just came out. I don't want to steal her thunder. I appreciate her. Liked praying for Bri and Corey. Great job, Jay and Mods. Vanessa's parents saying both be. I agree. 110%. The parents, we must not shut up. So what I want to get out of today are, well, my major thing is getting exposed, getting Chris exposed, and having many people write the judge an impact statement, and then people show up to court and give an impact statement about what a monster he is. Okay. So number one, I would love for somebody to come forward, one of the ex-girlfriends, one of a girlfriend that he's dated, anybody that he's abused, and come talk to us and share with us so people know who he is. He's not just a teacher, a crisis hotline guy that made a mistake with his son. He's an abusive monster that it's been that way his whole life, and he's not going to change. And yes, we agree, Jojo, the state is going to be held responsible in every way, and Bri is working on that behind the scenes. So, has everyone heard of Micah's list law? They're trying to pass governmental. Yep, we have. We've heard of that. I've heard nothing but that. It's crazy. Crazy. Courtney, you're familiar with me to go to Melanie. Everybody goes to everybody's channel. Yeah, you talking about Melanie Little. Absolutely pisses the Gregors off that Bri can finally tell her side, and that's why we need to get this out there. As you guys head out, we're almost 2 hours in. We covered a lot today. We're exposing Chris for the monster, the narcissist, the evil. I don't even know. I wouldn't even call him a man that he is. Let's do that. And then I'm going to work on also trying to reach out to Dr. Andrew. His name is Dr. Thomas Andrew. I would be happy if he just gives me a written statement, and I'd like to thank him. Hi, M. Good to see you. I love each and every one of you. I'm going to hop over right now to the Sebastian Rogers case. So have a good one. I will see you soon. If you're interested in the Sebastian case, then come on over with us. Hit that like button on your way out. It doesn't cost anything to support the channel. On that note, I'll see you all soon, hopefully. Have a good one.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime.